Welcome back to AvidCat Studios. I'm your host, Sir Stormchild, and this is the other podcast thing that I made recently. Um, but I made the other one first, and then I recorded this one. You know how much chaos goes into us. Oh, look, it says warning, idiot ahead. I made that especially for you. Thank you, Carl. So the review on Critters. Okay, Carl, you can do it now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast review channel. So I just watched, rewatched Critters, the first one. I found the set of four. I guess there's four, maybe more. I don't know. Anyway, rewatching the first one. It's not bad. I mean, like the monster designs are by the Chiodo brothers. Was about their production company or whatever. Um, they're the ones that did Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Fantastic movie. Um, Critters is like it's like Trouble with Tribbles, kinda meets Gremlins and Leprechaun, just for the settings. Uh, Not that movie. A lot of actual big name actors for the '80s, definitely. Um, Overall, competent movie. Look forward to seeing the rest of them. They're aliens from space that are little balls of fur, but they have like these paralyzing spine attacks, and they eat and they get bigger. Basically, the plot in a nutshell. Then bounty hunters show up, or they get sent out, kind of like the captured Hulk Hogan and what was that movie? Suburban Commando. And then they pick random faces, and one dude keeps changing over and over. Not bad, not bad. Also, Neelix was in this. Well, that was kind of interesting. No, I'm talking about Neelix from Voyager. So we'll see what the next one is. Also, I still have no idea how close I'm supposed to be holding this fucking thing to my face in order for it to pick it up. So, it gets really loud. I apologize. Alright, well, moving on. Also, the weird song, Power of the Night. Not bad. Yeah, it's fine. What? Not about shoes? So, Critters 2, the main course, which I've never seen. It's not bad so far. I'm halfway through it. It definitely leans more into the like Gremlins 2 type of thing. You know, like making it more humorous than it is supposed to be scary. Whereas supposed to the other one, it did it the other way around. Um, Kind of follows that formula in a way. Um, it's still pretty funny for what it is, and like one of like the crazy guy in town who knew about everything from the first movie, he shows back up, and then the other alien turns back into itself, and then or it turns back into that weird green glowing creature. Because they're supposed to be bounty hunters that, like, when they get somewhere, they can hide, even though they wear the same exact clothes and they act weird. Anyway, um, and then the other one is basically still Johnny Steele, who's the lead singer from the other group from the first movie. But same actor, Terrence Mann, he's back. He was actually one of the more interesting parts of the first one. But this one still got a lot of people from like the '80s, and actor wise. Um, So the aliens left their eggs on the planet, on our planet, and they start hatching. That's basically the plot. And then the bounty hunters have to come back, and then because they come across a Playboy that somebody earlier had lost, so Charlie's freaking out and like holds up the thing like, no, don't stare at me, because like he needs to transform. So like the other one transforms into like the Playboy playmate, tits and all, and they burst through, and it's like, oh, that's not weird. And then she starts like, gotta kill the Kreitz, and just walks away, and Charlie's running after her with her clothes like, no, you gotta wear these, like you're gonna need this. And then it starts doing like weird stuff, kind of like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I guess, kind of more Return, because it got a little weird, really silly. I don't know if this is going to continue with this kind of comedy for the other two movies. I don't know. Hopefully it gets more serious, but still maintains comedy. That's where I think the sweet spot is. It's serious. It's terrifying, but it's also funny. That is why the Ghostbusters 1 works so well. And why the sequel... Well, the second one I liked, but you know which one I'm talking about. Hopefully the new one's good. So we will finish it off, and yeah, okay. So the bounty hunters are named Ugg and Lee. Lee was the one with the good tits. She gets murdered, gets caught down an alleyway, and then they ravage her all but like her right arm or whatever. The other bounty hunter freaks out and turns into the other dude. Turns back into the blob creature that they are. And then they find, well, they tried to end the movie basically like Tremors 2 does, which is probably my favorite Tremors movie. Although they all each have their own something. But in Tremors 2, they get them, they like lock them in like this barn, and then try to blow them up. But that's also where all the food is. This one, it's where all the food is, so they can kind of, put a fan next to it and make it blow downwind, and then eat it, so they can like blow them up or whatever. But then like the wind changes, and it's like, oh, live meat, we're gonna go eat that instead, because apparently they could fly a spaceship, but they're dumber than shit. But then again, these all were birthed on Earth, so anyway. Then a giant one shows up and is like, no, cheeseburgers, no bones. They're like, you know what, I never thought of it that way. So they fuck off back to the explosion burger mansion thing. And then it turns out, oh, that was Ugg all along. He transformed into that, which reminded me of the Animorphs, but like the Andalite Chronicles, which is like the prequel to them. Like that's what they could do. They could like transform into other weird creatures throughout the universe. And then the Animorphs, they only got like one creature they could turn into or something. Oh, I never kept up with it. Anyway, then they blow up the meat factory. A lot of the critters survive. They come together, form a giant ball, and start rolling through town. Not making weird bowling noises like they were earlier. And then Charlie pilots the ship into that mass, exploding them, hopefully killing them all. Who knows? And so the other alien's like, yo, he died. I'll take his face, I'll become that person. So he does. Then, Charlie shows back up again. The main kid from the first movie, I don't know if I mentioned that. The redhead and the brother, he shows back up in town. Like, this is like his whole plot line. And he's got this hot for this girl. Sort of. Well, it's a whole thing. Watch the movie. It's pretty good. And then he finally gets to, like, kiss her right before they say goodbye. And then Charlie gets made sheriff because the sheriff threw him his badge, because apparently that's how it worked, even though he got voted out. It all feels a little Ghostbusters 2 beginning, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, hey, all these horrible things that happened a couple of years ago? No, neither do we. Go fuck yourself. It's the same movie. Well, that's Ghostbusters anyway. I love Ghostbusters too. I'll defend it till the day I die. The third one, yeah. So the fourth one's good. I know I've already said that. So, well, yeah, the Critters too. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, moving on to number 3. I think it's Critters 3, You Are What They Eat. I think that was the tagline I saw in the box. Yeah. Also, addendum, Critters 2, at the very end of it, they have the thanks to all the people in Groves Bend, which is the town that it's from. They're like, thank you for letting us make this picture. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cute. Because it's a fictional city. And then at the very end, with the credits, it said no critters were harmed during the making of this film. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. So far, Critters 3 had no subtitle on it. Then again, the other one didn't either, just said Critters 2 or whatever. That was just the title that was on the screen. The box art. Anyway, apparently this is Leonardo Dicaprio's first feature-length film kind of thing. There's some other shows, Step by Step or something like that. Dude's a good actor. So story so far, there's a family trying to go home after being on vacation. Their mom's been dead for 2 years. Teenage daughter, younger kid. I don't know. He looks like 6 or 7, maybe. He looks familiar too. Anyway, they come across through a series of frisbee events. They come across Charlie from the first movies, or the first 2. He's living in the woods trying to blow up like the remaining critters, I guess. Even though they were supposed to blow up the ones from before, because like the scanner is why they had to come back the first time. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever, it's fine. Apparently like maybe one left or something. He's trying to blow it up. It lays eggs on the main cast car or their truck. It like bites through their brake lines or whatever. And now it's gone from being outside, open road, into this apartment building that the maintenance guy is getting paid to try to kick them all out, probably for a bigger complex or whatever. He's a real douchebag, but he's supposed to be being a douchebag kind of thing because he's getting paid to be. Certain tenants don't want to move out. It kind of feels like, not the movie House, but I think it was like Troll. Maybe the first one I'm thinking of. I don't remember. Where there's like an apartment complex and then a bunch of weird shit happens. That has nothing to do with Troll 2. Where a bunch of weird shit happens. But dude's down in the basement. I think he might be about to get killed. I don't know. Nobody's really died as of yet. But yeah, I mean it's interesting for a sequel. It has that kind of Tremors kind of vibe where like if they keep making them, that's going to be a little different each time. Don't make the same thing over and over. That's where the mistakes happen. Threes kind of feel like, especially like in the 90s, they weren't reboots, thank God. They just kind of like That's a trend that needs to fucking go away. Just make a new one, and it's like, oh, look, there's a new actor. Just fucking go with it and shut up. We dealt with it for every single Batman. I think we can deal with it for anything else. Although that's DC, and that's not really the point. What am I doing? Talking about shoes? Yeah. So that's basically it. There's like one that's loose in the apartment building. I don't know if they're facing off against like just one critter or just a few. I'm not quite sure. Dad's trying to like get out of there and go to his business because he's got to make money because as they used to say, a working man can't make any money because he's too busy trying to make a living or trying to earn a living. Yeah. So yeah, continuing. Should also mention that Leonardo Dicaprio is not one of the main cast members. He might be somebody else, but he's a completely different person's son. So yeah. So it turns out that Leonardo is the bad guy. His son, or technically his stepson. He's the douchebag from the beginning of the movie, but apparently he's the douchebag trying to kick them out of their apartment buildings, and they don't know that they know each other. That's a good tie-in. Anyway. Also, for some reason, Leonardo is playing a Game Boy in the dark while they're driving. I don't remember the original Game Boy being that bright or having a backlight. And it doesn't look like he had all those little extra special features you had to buy. This is a weird complaint to have in a movie about space alien hairballs. Yeah. Anyway. So about halfway through. Yeah, the dude got murdered in the basement. I found out those things I just said. And now they're like, there's probably like about a dozen, maybe a half dozen, maybe to a dozen critters rolling around. The landlord showed up and has cut the power and literally cut the phone lines because he wants to kick them out in order to make his mall there, even though like it was like, didn't mom tell you like the court ordered you? Or did mom say like the court ordered you to, like pay them for relocation? He's like, oh, not if they don't move of their own accord. This is the one I learned from Donald Trump. I don't know if that's true or not, but hey. So now they're all wandering around in the fucking dark because this guy's an asshole, and the fat lady got stabbed a bunch of times by the porcupine things that don't clearly work as efficiently as they used to. But then again, these are creatures that have been living on Earth for a while, so I'll give them a little leeway. Also, I just say fat lady because I do not know her name. Oh, wait, Rosie? I think that's her name in the story. Also, Happy Gilmore's grandmother is in this. And she's always a delight. So, yeah. Okay, so, into the movie. The credit sequence that I just watched, I think they kind of still sort of do the same thing. It's where they have a scene and then they kind of pause and then like they show more credits and they show the rest of the scene, except this actually was paused on the screen. And that's a nice touch. Like it like paused at like a like an 80s sitcom, but then like it would continue and then it would pause, show more credits and whatnot. So I'm guessing maybe number 4 directly ties into it. I think they were made like the same year, so it would make sense. So the critters take over the apartment complex after they murdered dude's dad. Which I have no idea where I left off on that. So they murdered Leo's dad. They went there to do the thing and like kick out everybody, but like Leo's like, "I wish you were dead," and then like the door slams behind him, and then or he slams the door, and then like the critters are like, "Oh, who's this now?" And they start eating the dad or whatever. Then there's a whole thing about them like fighting the parent or trying to get the parents and everybody upstairs. And they're both shot with the porcupine poison sleep dart things. Then they crawl into the attic. One of my favorite parts is when they're all like, "Oh, we need kind of a weapon, you know, like you don't have a gun, you don't have this," and like Happy Gilmore's like grandma you know, hoofs this fucking big ass meat cleaver out. He's like, "What about this?" And you're like, "Holy shit, I love you even more now." And then there's a whole like fight in the attic. Charlie shows back up. Granny ends up like chopping one of them in half. And then there's like one that's still alive, the bleach one, because like his face got like dunked in bleach, and apparently that really burns them, and it turned part of his like hair and face white or whatever. And they need distinctions. It's going the way of like, I guess in the way of Gremlins if Gremlins 3 had gone on, but it's going the way of like Child's Play in that sense, where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a silly idea. We understand that it's a silly idea, but also we're going to try to make it a little scary and, you know, throw some like some gags in there, like, you know, when one of the ladies like swinging outside trying to grab the phone, and then they have like the Gremlins thing where like they're eating a bunch of weird shit in the kitchen and whatnot. Overall, this series is actually really goddamn funny. Some of it's like just like it's so outrageous, but it understands that, and I like that a lot. So, all right, fourth movie in a row. Well, technically, that is the fourth movie in a row. This is going to be the fourth Critter movie in a row. For further, what the hell am I talking about? Watch the other podcast or listen to it. I have no idea how this crap works. On what is it? Fried Berry. That movie's cool. All right, Critters 4. Let's go. Addendum to that, because it probably has something to do with the fourth movie. Charlie's still alive and gets instructions to not destroy these final 2 eggs, because those are the final 2 eggs of the entire critter species. Not just on Earth, but like everywhere. So that's how it's going to play out. You gonna stop interrupting this? Never. All right, that's cool then. So Critters 4 starts off with the last few minutes of number 3. I stuttered that. You didn't hear that wrong. So, I mean, that's fair. If you did like you didn't watch the last one, here's the last little bit you need to get caught up on, because a lot of people start leaving once the credits start rolling. But I mean, they should have stayed for that one. But you never know, audiences, and they're like that when it's syndicated or something. Then it'll be like, oh, I gotta cut that part out, or it's, you know, like minimized for time or shit. So it's just an extended version of the last little bit of the last one. Worth seeing again though for like the minor changes. All right, these are movies that really shine in their practical effects, which we need to kind of go back to. Instead of a lot of just CGI bullshit. Although with CGI, especially back then, boy did it look janky. And we've gotten a lot better since then, with the exception of a few, you know, the more money you put into it, fine. But man, you can do so much cool shit with just low budget crap. Yeah. Also, dude just got shot into space from the sleep capsule or whatever that was supposed to just carry off the critters. So, Charlie in space. That's not gonna be good. He's either gonna be food or he's gonna be like Ripley. Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, the connection to Chop's Play solidifies with the introduction of Brad Dourif. Uh, you know, Charles Lee Ray himself. He's an actor in this movie named Albert. I don't know why he's named that, but it's a spaceship during going through space. I'm pretty sure it's going to pick up the other thing, and then like critters going to get loose. It's critters in space that are already from space. At least this movie have like a roundabout, feel to them. Yeah. Okay. Plot so far. So these people kind of basically like scavengers come across the sleep pod that has the critters in it. They get contacted by the face of Terrence Mann, also known as the bodyguard, and the other ones, or the bounty hunter, excuse me. But he's somebody else different. It starts off in like 1992, and then it jumps ahead to like 2045 or something like that, 2140. So if dude's still in there, he ain't happy, or he's unconscious and he might be a stasis pod. They are told not to touch anything, do not open it, and then they're told to go, hey, go to this space station that's nearby. We'll see you when you get there. They get there, the space station has been abandoned. The nuclear core is about to melt down in about a month, maybe. Also, Angela Bassett is in this movie. She's fucking wonderful. She was just taking a shower, and the creep of the captain comes in. It was a great shot of Angela Bassett's ass. She pulls him in and says, "Come here," and then she punches him in the face. Rightly so, because he's been a fucking weirdo. It kind of reminds me of the crew from Andromeda in a strange way. Andromeda came much later, so probably certain influences came from this. So they're in like a derelict space station. Well, it's not really. It looks like they didn't finish it, and like something went wrong, and they just abandoned the place because like things are half missing and whatnot. Don't know exactly why yet. And the critters have not been awakened, but I guarantee the douchebags will perform such an act here soon. So, see you then. And once again, I know I probably have mentioned this, but I haven't listened to this podcast all the way through. This is Gonzo style. These movies are very self-aware of how silly they are. And I like that. I really do. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, Captain Asshole, as they call him, opened up the pod. Charlie fell out of it, and then the dude got eaten by the last two, the last two critters left alive. Which now he's on a mission. Now Charlie's on a mission to kill them, even though technically he's not supposed to. Yeah. Well, also the council has kind of been dissolved, but he doesn't know how far in the future he is. He just knows he's in space. And he's walking around with this the kid. Well, not like kid. Like he's just the youngest one trying to get back to his dad who might be on Earth. Anyway. So the corporate overlord kind of thing has reared its ugly head. I haven't gotten full confirmation on it because I haven't finished the movie. I think this might be where they either found the Krites, also known as the Critters, or they're a competing company trying to find something that is, because they created a creature that grows very fast, but they can't make itself reproduce. And it feels a bit, I don't know, kind of like Metroid-y in a weird way. Because like they were trying to find a species, and that would eradicate number X or whatever. That was like, or they found the planet that had the X specimen on it, and then the Metroids were the only thing eating it, the whole Metroid fusion kind of thing. But it's also, they don't have like a mother brain hive mind concept in this, but people using the Metroids or the critters for their own gain because of their destructiveness and all that totally makes sense and is in line with a lot of other things. Kind of like Alien, same kind of thing, which we all know Alien is why Metroid exists. So that probably explains that. And continuing. And now one of the people, the dude with the long hair, making long hair people look bad, has now finally gained access to the pharmacy and is just loading up a bag with pills. Honestly, a man after my own heart, if I'm being honest. Anyway, should preface that statement. I don't actually take pills. That was a joke. Yeah. So the guy trying to take all the pills is dead. And Angela Bassett seems a little upset about it. Judging from where I paused it. Oh god, I still got 30 more minutes of this? Ugh. Back in a minute. Minor problem. I don't know where these time cards line up. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Because it says the year as of currently that he's circled and everything is 2342. Right? And it's July. He's got circled 2344 March. That's I can't read that, but it's like when his he's gonna arrive home basically, or to find his father on Earth who may be there. And the doctors on the ship, when they reviewed this footage, it said 43. It didn't say 20, whatever. It didn't matter. And then they said, hey, Charlie, this is 1992. Driver's license. But you've been that was 53 years ago. So that would mean it's 2043. So either this fucking calendar that you made a point of fucking making, or the timelines are just completely wrong. He's either been frozen or in stasis for 53 years or 353 years. So between those two, I'm a little confused. But I have evidence of that confusion. So I guess I win? Anytime you have an argument with yourself, you're always going to win. But you're always going to lose too. So there you go. Also, there may be a weird running theme of absent or inept fathers or stepfathers. There seems to be a weird running theme between all that. First one, sure, kids, he's strict, but he's also caring, and he is effective in what needs to get done before he gets all chewed up and whatnot. Second movie, there's no real father figures. Well, that's not true. The only, for the main character, I guess, there's the woman, or the guy who runs the newspaper, but he's scaredy and he's ineffectual and he couldn't get out of a room with a bunch of glass right behind him. And then the third movie, the dad was pretty fucking useless for most of the time, even when he wasn't like, hurt by the porcupine thing. Like he just didn't pull himself out of the shit until like it was literally the last fucking second. He's like, "Oh, thank God, I'm a hero." Um, and then the other guy's stepdad was kind of a dick. Leo's stepdad in this one and that one. And in this one, he's trying to get home to see his dad, and he just yelled at Brad Dourif, "You're not my father." So that made me think, wow, there is kind of unresolved father issues between all these, but they're made by 4 different people, I believe. Interesting. Although, to be honest, we always have like one parent we always seem to rebel against, regardless of the issues surrounding them. Just a fascinating idea, because we all have parents, whether we actually know them or not. Huh. Concepts. Their last remaining critter, after Charlie shot the other one and screwed their plans of escape, has figured out how to work the super grower machine, and I think is making his babies or its babies bigger. They may not have been created on the ship. They might just be a lethal species that the company actually wants. That makes more sense. All right. And it's weirdly kind of funny how they like just inflate this weird thing. These movies are good. I enjoy the shit out of these. So hopefully next time you hear my voice will be a conclusion. All right. No, I haven't finished the damn movie yet. Like all these addendums, you don't figure that out by now. So the bounty hunter dude shows up again, and he kind of like he's moved over to the corporate side instead of being a bounty hunter. Probably pays better, more secure job. I get that, but Charlie thinks like, "Hey, he's my friend" or whatever. And they're like, "No, it's not your friend." And then he shoots Brad Dourif. What the fuck? And slaps Angela Bassett. 2 things you don't do. You don't like shoot the guy who's like the voice of Chucky, and you don't slap Angela Bassett. Probably the second one's probably a little bit more important. Because, well, let's face it, voice of Charlie, I mean, Chucky goes on. Yeah, he's got a great voice. Also, the movie, if you've never seen the movie, oh God, I don't remember what it was called, but like it was a religious movie, and he hated his father. Somehow this ties in, and he hated like how religious the guy was. It was like John Hughes, something like that, but not that John Hughes. It's something weird. It's in the 70s, I think, and he starts getting super religious about everything after the fact, after he's already like yelled at preachers, and then he gets blinded, and then he turns into like this love of super Christ or whatever happens, and he starts doing self-flagellation and like putting glass in his shoes and all this whatnot, and kind of reverts back to being his preacher like character. It's a very good movie. I cannot remember it. Also, they have a 6-shooter, and they are mostly out of bullets, and they have 2 critters at least to deal with. Now, the bounty hunters come with his quote-unquote stormtroopers on the ship, and is taking charge, so to speak. Yep. Also, a recurring and funny bit is the computer only does the opposite of what you say and what you tell it to do. It's very funny. It's also known as Angela for some reason. Yeah. So, end of the movie, yay! I thought for like the last second they were going to yell, "Charlie!" I'll explain that in a minute. So, once the dudes got on board with the stormtroopers, the kid leads them down the hallway into the laboratory, and then seals them in with the rest of the critters. And there's a lot more than you originally think. And then Angela Bassett, like, the kid comes back. He's got one of the other eggs that was upstairs. And he starts juggling them, and he tosses two of them on purpose. And then Angela Bassett gets the gun back from him, and then knocks out the singer guy who used to be the bounty hunter guy, who is now this other douchebag. Which he's like severely changed in tone compared to the other ones. It's kind of weird. Seeing as how like the last time you saw him, he was literally Charlie. I don't know why he went back to being the rock star guy. It doesn't make any sense. Also, I still have a timeline issue. It's driving me fucking nuts. But whatever. So after that, and like the guy's like, he's holding the gun to the kid's head after he like freezes one of the last critter that you had to deal with, the other one, the one that got his head burned off by a laser. Don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but he was the bald one. Kind of, it was just a reminiscent from once before that like that happened. It went, ooh, that's kind of cool. Anyway, so him and Charlie have a face-off. He's like, you never could do it, Charlie. And then Charlie shoots him right in the fucking head, between the eye, or not between the eyes, but in the forehead. He's like, people change. Things change. And people do too. Then they get on a spaceship. They take off. The thing blows up. And it's like, oh, in 3, 4, or like, like 5, 4. And it's supposed to be like 3, 2, 1, but it goes ahead and explodes. And you're like, oh, you couldn't tell time either. I'm like, oh, great. So when she said you got 10 minutes to get out before the nuclear bomb like explodes, it could have been like a minute and a half. Like, oh, we're down to 3 minutes. It could be 3 hours. We don't know. And then they tell, hey, Charlie, don't touch anything. So clearly he gets into the pilot seat, which is the exact kind of ship that they were flying in. And the second one, where he was up there with them and doing bounty hunting and shit. Charlie is both the most capable person in these movies and also the most fucking like retarded one. It doesn't make any sense. Although, I don't know. I mean, he's like Gilligan in a way. He's, very handy and like, I guess the term idiot savant kind of way. But also like he's very consciously anyway. Then he like puts on sunglasses even though he's in space. And he's like, oh, Captain Charlie McFadden. And then he presses a big red shiny button, and then like the thing goes careening off into space. And then you hear like the subtle cry of like one of the critters. Also, was it the third one? Was it the third one? That they added in. It was the one with the hospital. I mean, not hospital. The apartment building. Yeah, that was the last one. 3. They added in one. It had a name like Blackie, and it would start screaming this weird scream that none of them have ever done before. So, in conclusion, you know what? Enjoyable. I don't know if there are other movies. Probably. I don't know. My brain wants to say there's at least 6 of them, but I have 4, so I'm going to conclude this up to the first 4 movies, if there are movies, or if there's a remake made later on. The puppets look amazing. Sure, at times they look a little silly, but, because they have to be where the person can manipulate them with their hands. But they look amazing regardless. The CGI gets better. But it also, I mean, it's like literally early 90s, like CGI, so it's fantastic. That was meant with sarcasm, in case you couldn't tell. I liked them. They're. I wouldn't do this again, like all four movies all at once. Because if I was gonna watch like these again to like show people these things or whatever, I mean, this at least there is like a solid through line, unlike the Leprechaun movies, and then you got Leprechaun in space, and that just gets batshit weird. And there's a lot of those, and one of them was it with Hornswoggle or whatever the fuck his name was. Like, they no, that was not a good. He was probably fine as the weird, gross Leprechaun that they try to remake. And no, the last one I saw, pretty good. What was I talking about? Shoes. I would say Critters. Critters 3, Critters 4, and then Critters 2. If I had to give an order, just because I think 1 and 3 go together very well. You don't really have to know the second one, where the second one's kind of pointless if you take it apart. Kind of like the Lost Boys second movie. You can watch like the original Lost Boys and then just watch The Thirst, and you'll be fine. You can like skip the tribe. It's okay. Same with Exorcist. Exorcist 1 and Exorcist 3, fantastic movies. Exorcist 2, no. The prequel has some merits to it. Not great, but it has some merits. So, that is going to be concluding this marathon of 4 movies that I watched. Critters. I think there's no tagline for number 4, which is a little bit strange. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to this Gonzo podcast in my living room. And if you're hearing weird ambient noises, I have all the fans on and air conditioner on because it is hot outside. So hopefully it mitigates a lot of this, and I'm not talking too loud or too closely into the microphone. But I'm an idiot on those kind of things. So go watch these movies. I do recommend them, not just for Halloween. I outright just enjoyed these movies. These were good. I like them better than the Ghoulies franchise. It's not up there with Gremlins, but there are more movies. If you need a Gremlins kind of fix, this has you have partially covered. Actually, I think it's just a better made movie, the Gremlin movie, at least the first one. But Critters 1 is really decently made. Thing is, so is Leprechaun 1. After that, things get dicey in sequels. Anyway, Carl, any words?
Do the thing.
Thank you, Carl. Become his catchphrase at this point. All right, well, I will talk to you guys later. Do the thing. Later, guys. Stay safe.
Nailed it.